Baby animals are some of my favorite subjects in wildlife photography, which is why it was so special on my last Mara trip to photograph baby cheetahs and leopards. But now I was ready to find some little lion cubs and see what kind of images I could create. Before we went looking for lions though, we had one target on our mind that I was dying to photograph. It was a cloudy, overcast day, which meant that the conditions for photography would last for a while, and time was exactly what we needed to find what we were looking for. But this is the Maasai Mara, and I would get distracted by lots of other subjects to photograph, like this lilac-breasted roller in flight. We decided that the best strategy would be to head to the top of Lookout Hill, where we would have a panoramic view of the whole Mara to scan around. But instead, we got a call on the radio, and raced towards a black rhino, one of the hardest animals to find in the Mara, but completely out in the open, without a care in the world. There are only about 30 to 50 rhinos in the whole reserve, and while I had seen one earlier on this trip, it didn't compare to this rhino wide out in the open this morning. This was hands down the best rhino sighting of my life. I was on cloud 9 after photographing the rhino, and at this point I was happy to photograph whatever we'd see next. A nice herd of zebras seemed like a good change of pace from big cats. It can be a bit tricky to photograph herd animals sometimes, so I tried to find individuals or a group posing to make it work. After the zebras, we found a Thompson gazelle mother and fawn, which must have been only a few days old. They quickly ran away, but I still got my shot. I won't deny it, I'm a big cat addict, and I was already itching to find some again to photograph. We came across a new group of male lions, called the Kazkaz males, who have moved into the Mara from the Serengeti. One of the males was busy mating with a female, which is usually a recipe for a good photo, so I decided we'd stay with them for a while. Lions usually mate every 15 to 20 minutes or so, and then nap, so sticking with them gave me lots of different images. With some good lion shots on my memory card, we decided to check out the other parts of the reserve. We were headed to the territory of the Rongai Pride, where we knew multiple females had little cubs. And we found them, laying near some bushes while Mom was napping, and the cubs were happy to have some milk. These cubs were at an age where they were also eating meat, and it looked like Mom brought a warthog kill. It must be irritating for Mom, who works so hard to bring home dinner, yet all the kids still won't leave her alone. It was tricky to shoot them between the vegetation, and it seemed like none of the lions were too keen to come out for photos. To make matters worse, it quickly began to rain, which changed the lighting and made me retreat into the vehicle, even though I knew there were still photos to be had from this sighting. But rain can make for interesting animal behavior, and one active cub insisted on cleaning Mom, even if she was paying him no attention. So he became my subject for the moment. In a nearby bush, we were shocked to find the tiniest lion cubs that I had ever seen. These little ones must have been only a week or two old, and probably belonged to another one of the Rongai lioness. The bigger cubs loved to pick on the little ones, which was a little distressing to watch, but it's all part of the dynamics of lion prides. It's all play to them, no matter what the weight class is. With the day coming to an end soon, we decided to search for any other subject in a better photographic environment. We found another Rongai lioness with 2 cubs. It really seemed like every lion in the pride were off somewhere with cubs of their own. These little ones were in a much better spot for photos, and were wrestling with each other like most siblings would. Spending these last little quiet moments of the day with this family was one of my favorite parts of my Mara trip. The next day we had no particular plan, just happy to stumble across anything. We eventually found the Topi pride, who had killed a wildebeest during the night and were enjoying the spoils the following morning. Some of the older cubs were happy with whatever scraps they could get, like this one with a leg. Most of the lions had already eaten their fill, and probably wouldn't be too active now. Still, even lazy lions can give you some great photo opportunities, like these two lionesses who were nuzzling not too far from the kill. After many cloudy days, I was enjoying some rays of golden light hitting my subjects. Eventually, hyenas and vultures showed up to the kill, and began to steal what they could as the lions finished eating. Lions and hyenas are arch enemies, but as long as the lions had superior numbers, the hyenas would have to wait their turn. With the light getting harsher, we decided to move on from the lions and have some breakfast at a nearby breakfast spot. But when we got to the spot, we found Ruka, a male cheetah who splits time between the reserve and Mara Triangle. We barely had any time with Ruka before we heard of a leopard on the radio. It was Faulu, but we had just missed her walking off. We headed back to Ruka, and I tried my hand at some environmental shots. Heavy rain clouds were building, and it was becoming clear that we'd have to head back to camp soon. There were a lot of vehicles building up by the river, and even in the rain I could see the small outlines of lions laying down. It seemed like the lions were debating whether they wanted to cross or not, but like most cats, would rather not get wet. Eventually, they found a good spot, and after a little decision making, made the leap to the other side. What a great finish to the day. The next day, we were surprised to find a thick blanket of fog over the Mara and could barely see in front of us. We parked next to a river bend, and it became clear why. The carcass of a dead hippo was lying in the river, and apparently some male lions had been on it the day before. Now, only one lone crocodile was here. This hippo died of natural causes, which made it a feast for predators. But with the crocodile in the river, it most likely meant no lions would be coming down. It was cool to see the crocodile eating, but there were no real photos to be had here, so we moved on. We started to make our way to the Rongai area again to look for the lioness with cubs, but of course I get distracted by everything, like these elephants as a hot air balloon took off behind them. We continued on and scanned the bushes when out of nowhere, one of the Rongai lioness came out with her two little cubs following behind. Mom seemed to want to leave the cubs alone, but they kept protesting as loud as they possibly could. So she would retreat back and forth to the bushes with the cubs tagging along every step of the way. It was a funny scene, but I could tell Mom just wanted to find something to hunt at this point. The little cubs were just adorable and gave me some great shots as they followed Mom around. Finally, Mom got away, and she climbed up on a termite mound to get a look around, which was a great scene to photograph. As good of a scene as it was, we heard some chatter on the radio and decided to leave her for another sighting. Naturally, I got distracted again, but this time it was worth it because we found a serval. It was too harsh for photos, but a serval is always worth stopping for. We continued on, way towards the south of the Mara, where we found the lovely Nora, one of the most unique and beautiful looking female cheetahs in the entire Mara. Nora is an older girl in her twilight years now, but she is a fan favorite in the Mara, so spending time with her is always a treat. Nora wasn't up to too much, so we left her to look for other subjects to photograph. There was a martial eagle in a tree, which is a raptor that I'd love to have a good picture of, but birds at the top of trees don't make for very good subjects. We headed back towards the territory of the Topi pride, where we knew some of the subadult males had been seen. And we found them pretty easily, doing what lions do best: sleeping. Further away, we found one of the females on a mound with some elephants in the background and a very faint rainbow peeking out from the clouds. We headed back to camp, but there was a bit of chatter on the radio for a leopard, so we decided to investigate first. It was Faulu again, but almost all the light was gone at this point, and she seemed like she wasn't going anywhere, so sadly we had to call it a day with no real photos of her. Somehow the end of my trip had snuck up on me, and after a week of rain clouds, it was nice to get one last sunny morning. I didn't know what we would find, but I just wanted something good to photograph in golden light. The Topi pride was together, and it seemed like they had killed a baby hippo during the night and were enjoying themselves. One of the pride males was lounging in the sun nearby, and I knew that he was going to be my target this morning. After getting some good shots of him, I went back to where the rest of the pride was eating. The older cubs were here, so I figured it was worth sticking around in case they did anything interesting. It was mostly Mom doing some cleaning, and at this point everyone had already eaten their fill. We left the lions to stop for one last breakfast, where some zebras were fighting each other for dominance. There was also another martial eagle, but birds and trees against the light don't make for very good photos, sadly. We heard news on the radio about some male lions that may look like they wanted to hunt, so we headed towards them with what little time we had left. We found Lorcalup, one of the famous Black Rock boys, who was perhaps the most famous lion in the Mara for his skills as a buffalo hunter. I say was, because in February 2025, 3 months after this, he would be found dead in the Mara. This was the last photo I ever took of him. Sadly, there was no buffalo to hunt, and we had to make our way back to the airstrip so that I could catch my flight back to Nairobi. I took one last shot of a hippo bursting out of the water as we crossed a river, which actually was one of my favorites of the trip, even though it came at the end. At last we reached the airstrip, where my plane was just landing to take me out of the Mara. We took off, and I said goodbye to the wide open plains of my favorite place on Earth. After 2 weeks in the Mara, I can honestly say this was my most successful wildlife photography trip yet. I photographed incredible animal behaviors, like a leopard hunt, for the very first time. I had a close-up sighting of a relaxed black rhino out in the open. And I got to be the very first person to see a cheetah with her brand new cubs, still at the den. The Mara always delivers, and that's why I'm planning on returning next year. Next February, I'm heading back to the Mara, and I'm taking 4 other photographers with me. We'll be staying at Old Tepesi Camp, with our focus on photography over anything else. If you want to join me on a safari to take the best wildlife photos, then check out the link below for more details on the trip. There's no better place for photography than the Mara, and I can't wait for the next adventure here.